What's going on, YouTube? I know it's been a minute. Just wanted to give you an update. So I am going to be going to Miatas at the Gap in August 7th to 10th, and so I'm starting to prepare this car, I guess, for some of the events that I want to do. One of them being the NC run. I went last year and it was one of the most fun events I've ever thought I would do. Tested the limits of the car. This year I'm a little more prepared. I'm going to start with putting a better brake fluid. I just had Dot4 in there last year, so this year I'll be putting in Dot4, so nice fresh brake fluid. The car itself has been detailed. I didn't film it, but I spent a solid maybe 15 hours removing the PPF that was on the front bumper. I would say it's probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. But you can see the color now is much more accurate to the rest of the vehicle. It was actually yellowing, and my neighbor had pointed out that there was cracks, and those cracks, it was actually pulling up the paint. So like there's parts like that where it did pull up the paint. It was stuck. So I luckily got to it in time. For the most part, it all came off. I'm sure there's little specks here and there that I missed, but overall, pretty good. Overall, pretty good. I also cleaned the exhaust tips. They were getting kind of black, but they're nice and shiny again. I never filmed the install of the Super Q, but if anyone has any questions about it, I will say it was one of the better mods I've done for this car. It's one of the few aftermarket exhausts that I hear that removes the drone when you have aftermarket headers like I do. So it was important that I could commute to work in this car and not have to deal with a drone at all RPMs. It does a really good job. Anyway, I also have a horn video that will be coming out. I installed a second freeway blaster, so be on the lookout for that. And so yeah, I'm gonna get started on putting this new brake fluid in. I'll be using the motive bleeder, and I think it's the 0100 adapter, if I remember. But yeah, so first step is to jack the car up and I'll get started. Okay, so the car is up in the air. First step is let's make sure we can build pressure. But it's crazy, 1 year, this fluid just does, that looks nasty. I don't know, maybe it's fine, but I'm kind of glad I'm changing it out. But so this is what came out when I removed the brake cap. And so this is the piece I'll be using right here. So it's got a little gasket inside on the cap. But anyway, so first thing I need to do is try to build pressure, and we'll see if it works. Okay, so I'm gonna cap on. It does fit nice and snug. And then the pump is dry, the bleeder is dry right now. So I'm just gonna do this, and now it's important that we build pressure, because if it loses too much pressure, it won't be able to push the fluid out. So pretty good. It's holding a lot better. It's holding a lot better than the Mazda 6 did when I did that brake flush a couple weeks ago. That was kind of a real pain. But yeah, this seems to be holding very well. So what you do is Normally you can use a turkey baster and just empty out the fluid, but what I'm going to do is start with the passenger side rear, then move to the driver side rear, then move to the passenger side front, and then lastly the driver side front. So I'll go in that order and just start pumping out the fluid. So the Motive is an amazing tool because you don't have to have your spouse or anyone else pushing on the brake pedal. What you do want to do is just make sure that you fill it up when it gets to low, because you do not want air in the lines. So it is a little bit more involved, but it makes cleanup a lot easier. At least for me, I don't feel like having brake fluid bursting out of this if there's a leak. So what I'll be doing is cracking open the bleeder, slowly letting it drip out, and then once it hits low, I'll twist this to release the pressure. You never want to do it there, you want to do it here. Slowly release the pressure and then add new brake fluid. Okay, so this is the contraption I made. It's pretty much a TG Lee bottle. And then what I do is I just put the hose in here, and then this goes over the brake leader, which is perfect and makes it really simple. You also want to make sure that the fluid is above the bleeder. So on this, the bleeder looks like is back here, right there. So you'll want to make sure that it's suspended over. That way air doesn't potentially go back into the bleeder. And the way I do that is with one of these. And I just hang it from the suspension arm. And I made a little zip tie, cut a little hole in it, and so it just goes like this. Okay, so here's my setup. I have an 8mm wrench, and I have the little tube over it. And so what I'm going to do is pressurize the system to 10 psi. I guess they say it can be 12 to 15, but I just do mine at 10. It seems to work well. Maybe I'll go up to 12. And crack the bleeder open. So to crack it open, what you want to do is you just want to rotate it in a counterclockwise direction. Well, it depends what side of the car you're on, but in this case you can righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. And when it hits the low mark, you just tighten it back. And then you add the fluid, and then you loosen it again. So you will eventually start seeing the fluid go into the bottle and through the tube. Okay, so I have it set to 10 to 12 psi. And now what I'm going to do is crack the bleeder. And you can see the fluid. Now you don't want to push it too far. So I'm going to just leave it like that. And then you will start to see fluid emptying. Now I'm going to go ahead and monitor the level. And you can already see it's going lower and lower and lower. So once it hits low, I'll go ahead and close it. So now it has hit the min level. And what I've decided to do is just tighten it up. You want to be snug. You definitely do not want to over tighten these bleeders, or you will have a lousy day. You'll have to buy new bleeders. So just nice and snug. I wouldn't say more than like, I don't know, just finger tight. So you can kind of feel it right when it closes. Just kind of no quarter turn. Just until it closes. It's tapered, so it doesn't need too much pressure to seal. So now the next step is going to be to release the pressure. So I'm going to so we release the pressure right here, and then what you'll do, you'll see the PSIs drop, and what that means is it is safe to remove the cap. So now the brake reservoir is back to full. I'm gonna go ahead and pump it back up to 12 psi and crack open the bleeder. I'm gonna do this about 2 to 3 more times. That way it gets the lines with the fresh fluid, and then I will switch to the next side. Okay, so you can see the fluid right there, and I am going. That was 3 times I went from full to empty. So I bought a 32-ounce brake fluid, so I should be good for 2 more times, and then 1 on the fronts for one full to empty on each of the front sides. So off to the next side. Okay, I've gone ahead and pressurized it to 12 psi, and I'm gonna go ahead and do it righty tighty count. Lefty loosey. There we go. Oh, I see some air bubbles there. Open it. Okay, and now for the final bleed. Let's see, 12 psi, full reservoir, and right here. So, go ahead and crack the bleeder. Looks like it's trying to go backwards, but I will say there is the clutch, which technically you should be bleeding. I've just been pumping it 25 times between fill-ups. I'm not sure if it really does anything. It is shared with the brake master cylinder, so the brake reservoir. I just hear way too many people screw it up and then their clutch is just never the same, so I figured the fluid's going to mix, and if I do it regularly, change it regularly, I shouldn't have an issue. There's nothing wrong with the clutch. Yeah, so it may not be the best and ideal way. Maybe if someone can tell me if you've bled your brakes with the motive bleeder, and if it's just as simple as pressurizing it, opening it, and closing it, definitely would love to know that in the comments. But yeah, it's just, let's wait for this to finish. Okay, so the brakes are done. Definitely want to go on a test drive. I always leave a little bit of fluid in case I don't tighten one of the bleeders tight enough. So for the most part, the bottle is full. You can see right there. It's got a nice dark amber hue to it. I take this time also while the wheels are off. You want to inspect the brake pads, make sure you have some life. And from the looks of it, yeah, we're good. Let me check the other side. So I'm trying to focus the phone, but you can see there's plenty of pad left on that side. Okay, there's the driver's side. Looks good there. Let's see what it looks like here. Yep, we got some pad there, so we're good.